Welcome to the Plague Hive. I'm joined today by Ollie, otherwise known as ArchonAlters from the Uzuri Discord channel, and he's got a special treat for us today, which is a full recording of an Oldhim matchup that he did on his Fatigue Uzuri list that he's willing to share with all of us. And Ollie, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the deck operates, what the idea there is, and what you would normally do in that matchup?
Hi, yeah. The deck's a Contract Uzuri, so it's a lot more face-off attacks, breakpoints, and banishing to make sure that they don't have, just to get rid of threat density and lasting the longer game. For Oldhim, it's a very different game due to his very defensive playstyle. So you are the aggressor in that matchup, so it's a very so you have to push forward and make every damage count in that one.
Right, yeah. So you're kind of, I want to say, famous in a way, basically for basically creating the default Arachne list back in the day, back in the Dynasty days. Your list's still like one of the most played lists, publicly available lists on February, actually. I think it's in like spot 14 or 15 or something last I checked. And this is sort of like the, I would say, natural evolution of that, basically, right?
Yeah, I moved on to, well, after Outsiders before just gave Assassin, in the whole class in general, so many tools to work with. So I went from the Arachne, and then someone suggested, I saw someone suggest that we could just do as Arachne, but play in Uzuri, and gave it a try, and you definitely could. It works better. Yeah,
right. So like the key difference really is just, Arachne doesn't really have a viable specialization. Uzuri has one that's definitely very viable in the form of Shakedown, right? And then also you have like the isolates to give dominate to stuff. So I imagine that's actually probably pretty impactful in this specific matchup, right? To like actually push damage through.
The card that I wanted for Arachne.
Yeah.
From the start, like you needed to be able to push your on hits because there's nothing stopping them, just a full block in most of the time.
Yeah. That's like they're so efficient with the blocks, right? And that actually that leads us into some of your sideboarding choices, which are, like it's an Oldhim matchup, so you pretty much have to play the full pile unless you're like an extremely aggressive deck that knows it can get the job done with 60 cards. And I'm not sure there's such a deck in the format currently, to be honest. But if you play anything that's a little bit slower, basically it's the entire pile. And the deck list will, of course, be down in the video description, so you can check it out for yourself. And Ollie's gone to the trouble of creating full matchups for everything, essentially. So if you load the deck up on Teleshar, you can just click the button that corresponds to the hero you're playing against, and you have the entire matchup and sideboarding done for you. You don't need to worry about any of that yourself. So it's a really great starting point for anybody that wants to give Uzuri a try, specifically this like kind of slower, little more defensive fatigue style of Uzuri that the contract list naturally does because of all of the banishing, right? So if you want to give that a check out, just head down to the description of the video, check out the link, give it a try on Teleshar yourself. So as I said, basically you're bringing the entire sideboard in here, but what about the equipment slots? Like what's going on there?
Well, obviously there's Vambrace. Vambrace is a necessary evil for Crown and Earth React.
Yeah.
Flick Knives is great, but without Nerve Scalpel, it loses a lot of its value.
Yeah, true.
And we don't run Nerve Scalpel into Oldhim because Scale Peeler is so effective at turning off Rampart, and Spider's Bite is just making their hands block ever so awkwardly, or especially on dominates, etc.
Yeah, true. Like, I mean, they do run a bunch of non-attack actions, right? That still block 3. Like they have Terra Sunder in the deck. They've got obviously Channel Lake Frigid, right? Although to be honest, like if they block with a Channel Lake, I'm personally happy, right? That card messes us so much because like we kind of don't really want to pitch in most cases, right? A lot of what Uzuri does just doesn't cost anything, so anytime you have to pitch for it, it's less efficient essentially. Although
the deck is just so like cleanly efficient for pitch value, that making you spend extra on every card, it just ruins the maths.
Yeah. I mean, Oldhim's a matchup where like you can be all right with running a little inefficient, right? Because at the end of the day, if you pitch a card, you know it's gonna come back, so it's less worrisome than maybe in like a Fi matchup or something where you would really want to run it as efficient as possible. But yeah, it's definitely not nice having to play under a Channel Lake, especially if it's up for like several turns. So that makes perfect sense. And I guess, you know, like you said, Vambrace is a necessary evil, I guess, in a way. Which you have to run in the matchup. And then Scale Peeler's kind of the same because they can run Rampart. And I've seen a couple of Oldhims switch to Sledge, right? Yes. Sledge of Anvilheim for this specific matchup because they know that we run Peeler and Vambrace into them. So they're like, okay, might as well just not bother with the shield then, because they can, you know, use Scale Peeler and get rid of it anyways. And I'm personally not entirely sure how I feel about this. Like, I think on the one hand, it's good because we can play more efficiently now, right? We don't have to lead with the Peeler all the time. We can actually use Spider's Bite and make him block less efficiently. But they do send out more damage. So our blocking has to be like, we have to block more in order to actually survive. So they don't necessarily fatigue us. They can just kill us with Sledge. You know,
they're also blocking a lot less.
But yeah, so exactly. So they eat more damage.
It's a very different game and very different gameplay. And it plays a lot more like Bravo.
Yeah. It's a two-edged sword, I would say, for them to run Sledge. Like, but on the off chance they're still using Rampart, I think you have to run Peeler. Like, there's, you know, you can't just be like, okay, I'm just gonna leave Peeler at home, not run it. I think you have to run it on the off chance they're still running Rampart. I don't think you have the option to run any other dagger than Rampart than Scale Peeler in this matchup.
If you know they're on Sledge and you know they're on for Sledge for this matchup, I think you could possibly get away with running Nerve instead of Scale. And I still think you run Vambrace.
Yeah, Vambrace I think is a given because they're gonna be on Crown no matter what. Like
Crown and Earth Reactor still very powerful tools.
I don't think there's any matchup where Oldhim goes like, yeah, I don't need Crown of Seeds here. You know, I don't think that happens.
Vambrace still will always outvalue Flick Knives in the longer game.
In this matchup for sure. All right, okay, so we've gone over the sideboard such as it is. So I'd say we just head on into the video, and I'm just gonna play it by ear. I have not watched this before, so for me this will be like a live experience. I'm gonna try my hand at doing a little bit of casting. And obviously you know what's happening because you recorded the whole thing. So if any crucial interactions happen, you just stop me and we'll go over them. And we are running this at 1.5 times the regular speed because it is an older matchup, and I don't want to make you watch through like an hour of that because it is almost an hour long. So
there's a lot of thinking about blocks.
Yeah. That's fair. It's not super. I mean, we've all seen our share of Oldhim games by now go way over the 1 hour mark, so we kind of don't want that. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, here we are.
So I start with actually a very good hand.
Yeah. And you switched to Legacy Classic. Very good. I like that.
Still not a fan of the new Talishar.
Yeah, no, me neither. But that hand is just oof.
Yeah, very good.
And that is like almost the best hand you could ask for if you play Uzuri into basically anything and you go first. By the way, I didn't catch it. Did you win the dice roll in this? Did you choose to go first, or did they?
That's a very good question. I do believe I chose first.
Right, yeah.
I don't think you want to go second. Just taking extra cards from hand.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The opportunity to push some damage is very valuable, especially when they have Crown Life.
No, it makes sense. Like, you want to keep them off Arsenal, basically. you both run Tunic, and you both have access to dominate attacks that could be relevant on turn 1, right? Or turn 0 as it is. So I guess going first here, it makes sense, yeah.
They made an interesting choice of not using Rampart to block with, which was a choice, especially when they have Remembrance in the deck and in hand there. I think they would want to cycle that out. That was possibly a mistake.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
So I went for red for Oasis, for Shakedown there, because their turn here should be send their biggest attack here when they can.
No, that makes sense. Like if they had the CNC there, I mean, your blocking would have been a lot more problematic, basically, if you had to.
I think I did block incorrectly there anyway. Losing the Death Touch that early was kind of rough. I think I probably should have gone Oasis pitching the Death Touch.
Right, okay.
Instead of blocking with Death Touch and Isolate. Save a life, lose a life difference. But
okay.
I think Death Touch is one of your biggest impactful cards in those matches.
I mean, I agree, absolutely. Death Touch is brutal. I think it's one of the best cards in the new set, flat out. Maybe I wouldn't maybe go as far as to say the best card, but definitely one of the best cards in the set. The card is just really pushed.
As everyone has said, I think Codex of Frailty.
Yeah, fair. That wins the pot hands down. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. But to be honest, I do like getting a Death Touch into graveyard early, because it's such a good Codex target. And I've had hands happen to me where I'm like, I draw an early Codex, right, like on turn 2 or 3 or something, and I don't really have any good targets for it in the graveyard yet, you know? That's kind of an issue.
That CNC kind of ruining my blocks there again.
Yeah.
Having to use equipment so early kind of feels bad.
I mean, sometimes you gotta do it, you know?
I can't lose the cut to the chase, unfortunately.
Yeah,
the E-strikes drawing the E-strikes help a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's raw damage, but at the end of the day against Oldhim, you know, raw damage is what you want, essentially. So that makes sense.
It stops them having an impactful turn, so it's still quite nice.
Yeah. And you know, with Oldhim, I feel like you can get away with sending raw damage because sometimes their turn is just gonna be Titan's Fist, even if they have like a 4-card hand, you know. The same, we saw that in their like first turn, right? They had a full hand, and the only thing they were able to really do with it was send Titan's Fist. Just because sometimes their deck lines up that way that they can't really do anything. It happens.
This is an awkward hand as well with Remembrance.
Yeah, Remembrance is great. True.
I didn't really want to block with that Spreading Plague, but because that is one of our win cons. I feel late game.
Makes sense, yeah.
But I can finally get this cut to the chase out of Arsenal.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he is probably he's not blocking it, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I bait with the mask to see what they do. They're probably going to have another defense reaction if they're blocking like this.
Makes
but
sense.
you got to force them out as early as possible.
Yeah, like there's no way around it, you know. Like Oldhim is running like what blue staunches, sinks, fates, oasis, and peace of mind these days. So it's like what, around 15 or so defensive cards they can play at reaction speed.
But you see how that cut to the chase and forced them to pitch 2 reds for that peace of mind.
Yeah. That's massive, actually. Yeah.
Oh, so great.
Their turn is just Arsenal, probably, and I
saw the top deck was disable, a blue disable on the cut to the chase. So I'm happy to give them that for their ponder,
right?
Because it means if they Arsenal it, it's not that impactful either.
Yeah. Okay.
They're probably going to crown it anyway.
Yeah.
And you can see here what Embrace forces them to do.
Yeah. They're crowning. And then the crown doesn't do anything, and they're still hit, and now they can't use their shields. It's great.
And now they can't stop a break point of a 4.
Yeah, it's great. Like, they would have to commit an actual piece of equipment to it, you know. Or I mean, if you see that, if they staunch like a 4 power attack, you're happy to see that, right?
I'm very happy with that trade.
That's definitely good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Otherwise, that would have just been a 3-block and a rampart or a crown.
Yeah. Oh, and inertia trap. Ooh, that's massive. Yeah.
Inertia trap doing his thing.
Yep. Inertia
trap. An awkward hand.
Like that's one of the things where, you know, I kind of would not like going up against an Oldhim using Sledge,
Yes.
simply because Inertia Trap doesn't work against it. And Inertia Trap is such a nice play against Oldhim. You know, it's so good to get an Inertia on them to stop them from having access to Arsenal.
And it stops them from just blocking very efficiently.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
Get to the chase and feels much more less impactful.
Yeah.
The surgical hitting there, kind of huge. Be able to take out Rouse.
Yep, that's big, definitely.
Gets me in my silver back, and taking a Rouse out of deck is huge because that's one of their big swing cards later on.
Absolutely, yeah. If they can pitch stack that and just go like Rouse into literally anything,
yes,
you know, that's like basically 13, 14, 15 damage, give or take. That's pretty big.
On this turn, I'm hesitant to buy my mask back here because I want to save the silver for another boot spy. But as it was so early in the game, I feel like that one block probably will help somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And here I can eat the 4 because I've got a very good hand here.
Right. Leave no witnesses.
Witnesses, cut the chase, razor.
That's pretty nasty. So in this situation, like if you have a leave no witnesses and another contract, do you typically lead with the leave no witnesses or do you lead with the other contract? Because I figure, right, if you lead with Plunder the Poor and then you leave no witnesses hits, I mean, in this matchup, it's rhetorical, right? Because Oldhim's running almost no targets for Plunder the Poor.
In this matchup, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be banishing the Arsenal. So they're basically both blank 4s at that point. Banished.
Yeah.
But like banished, but they
generally, if you were to, you know, if you knew they would both connect, like, do you lead with the Plunder or do you lead with the leave no witnesses?
Honestly, it doesn't really matter, I find.
Right.
They're basically the same at that point. We're just doing raw numbers.
Yeah, okay.
I blocked the Titan's Fist with a Fate there, which kind of feels inefficient when it's a 3-power fist, but I want to save that Inertia Trap for late game.
Yeah,
I know I've only got 1 more left. And their blocks here allow me to, with the Earth React, allow me to just, I was going to push the Annihilate, but now I get to just push Fan Brace and plunder the 4.
That's still pretty good. Like, honestly, using Inertia Trap when it's not activating it feels like a massive waste. Like, I don't think I would do that. So
in this matchup, it's vital as well to have.
Yeah. Like, just using it as a 3-block is just, you know, you don't want to do that. So I fully get it. Okay.
Again, I don't have a too great a hand, so I'm just
pitching away for the Oasis. Yeah, makes sense.
And then isolate into Plunder is not amazing, but I'm surprised they didn't commit any blocks here.
Okay, that's interesting. Like I'm kind of curious what kind of hand they have now that they thought it was worth taking.
But I do understand it. There's only 4, and this turn channel ain't rigid.
Oh, they've got a channel. Okay, yeah, that makes sense then.
They completely stopped this turn because I've actually got a really good turn.
Yeah. Like that turn would be brutal without the channel, but with the channel, it's essentially
and then an endless winter on top. That's massive. Luckily, I've got the spare pitch to be able to play out a turn. That's kind of impactful on them.
Yep.
Because I can block here with just the shred and just play Hurl into leave no witnesses pitching.
Yeah, off the Codex, and it keeps the Codex around for later too. So it's pretty good. And this was not fused, right? So like the frostbites don't happen, so you're good to there.
However, without Channel Lake out, I would have been able to go Hurl, into leave no witnesses, shred it, boots,
and then boots into Codex
into a Death Touch, which would have been a massive.
That's massive, yeah. That's the kind of turns you want to see as Uzuri. Like anytime I can do like a boots Codex turn, it just makes me smile because those turns feel so crazy with her. Like I still think Uzuri is the hero that utilizes Codex of Frailty to its best, if that makes sense. I feel like obviously it's great for every class that can run it, right? Like Azalea can just bring back Red in the Ledger with it. Like I think in Azalea lists it basically takes the place that Memorial Ground had before, right? Where it's just I just bring back my most impactful arrow and that's what I do with it. It's just better than Memorial Ground at doing that because it also gives you the free arsenal. It's just more valuable basically. And for Lexi, typically it's just like, okay, I'm bringing back like a Heat Seeker or something. And that's pretty impactful because that's like you get a 6-card hand basically from the double arsenal. That's really good. But with Uzuri, it's always like, okay, you do Death Touch from arsenal, boots, Codex, Death Touch or something.
It makes our smaller scale hands much more impactful
like we can just do like 2 or 3 card plays that are insane with Codex. It's crazy.
I finally get to see the other Death Touch here, so I get to put that in arsenal.
Great.
I get to do.
Oh yeah, there's one card that I was waiting for a little bit. Plague Hive. So like that's probably one of the most asked questions on the Uzuri Discord, in my feeling at least. Is Plague Hive a good card, basically, right? Should I buy a Plague Hive? Is it necessary to play Uzuri? That kind of question. So what's your opinion on it?
I just rolled a Blood Rot box, which is huge value.
Great,
there. I think it's a very good card, especially into Oldhim. I think I see it about 5 times in this matchup.
Right, 5 times. Oh god, that is crazy. Yeah,
which is a huge value in the long run. If you hit Inertia, it's huge. If you hit Frailty, it's very medium.
Yeah,
but it's still alive regardless, which has not cost you anything.
Yeah.
Which I like it a lot. Very good. It works in other matchups as well. Just all 3 diseases are very powerful. Yeah,
it's just like obviously not all of them are gonna be good in the same matchups essentially, right? Obviously, but they all feel relevant definitely. So, oh my god! So you're just gonna stack him with the Blood Rot Poxes here, and then send the Leave No Witnesses on top. Okay, right.
It's a huge swing with the double Blood Rot like that. You can see the impact that Plague Hive has done.
Yeah. That's pretty massive.
Yeah,
he's gonna eat probably another. Like he's eating 4 damage, right? 4 to 6 damage. I think he can block the Leave No Witnesses, or he can pitch to one of the Blood Rots, and either way he doesn't have an arsenal, or he's eating 8 just to keep the arsenal. Yeah.
It's a tough spot, especially with an awkward hand that they had with
not that many blues on it and stuff. Yeah.
And then I hit the Heart of Fiendo off that banish.
Oh my god. Oof.
Which is just huge.
Yeah, that's like Chef's Kiss, you know.
It's they get the same value out of Heart than we do out of Plague. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
They choose to Tyrant's Fist here, which is possibly a choice that I wouldn't have done.
Yeah, that feels kind of weird, honestly. Like, I think either pitching that to one of the Blood Rots or just having an arsenal would feel like the better choice to me, I think. I'm not sure if the 3 damage in this situation is gonna be that relevant. Because, like, either you go, okay, I don't care, I'm just gonna block 3, you know, the way you do. Or you're just, I'm gonna eat 3 because I'm ahead on life at the moment anyways, you know?
Yep. The way they block here with an Earth React, I was going to just play Slay and arsenal the Shakedown here, but with the Earth React live, they can block 4 too easily.
Yeah, true.
So I forced them to lose 2 cards here, or sink more damage.
Yeah. And I mean, like, this would actually, like, if you had 1 resource left over, this would actually be a really nice play, because then you could Vambrace and that activates Shakedown, right? Like, unfortunately, it didn't play out that way in this situation, but you don't always need to Uzuri to turn Shakedown live, you know? You can use any attack reaction, basically. And the contract list runs more of them, actually, than the Redline list does, because you have Mask, right? So in a pinch, if you really need that Shakedown to connect, you can break Mask and just, you know, that's it.
But Yeah, I do love Embrace for that because it costs nothing to do. You don't lose equipment for it. Feels very good.
Yeah, it's just one resource. You have a reaction. Even if it doesn't do anything, it just turns on shakedown. You're good to go.
Here I'm contemplating playing the Spreading Plague, but I see them having a 5-card hand. They're probably going to have a D-React that completely just stops this, which
makes
they
sense.
do anyway, so it would have only been one Blood Rot. Save it for later. Going to be way more impactful. Yeah,
yeah, they got the staunch, so yeah, okay. Like, especially if it's a staunch, right? The Spreading Plague just isn't that valuable because it gives them like a single Blood Rot. So, okay, doesn't feel... You want to get, I feel like, at least 2 Blood Rots off of Spreading Plague for it to be actually worth it. And that's just a clean block with the Sync. Love to see that.
This thing. It's awkward hand. Down dirty feels bad in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
As it does most of the time, but it's there for blocking. But in this matchup, it's a 6. It does damage.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, if you think about it, it's almost the same as a CNC in this matchup, right? Because like the text on CNC doesn't matter that much versus Oldhim. Like, I guess stopping D-Reacts is nice, right? But they're like on our aces, they're on Peace of Mind, right? And you know, if bad comes to worst, they're just gonna block it with 2 cards. They don't care.
So this is a turn I should have possibly played a Baron Pummel here. I got a bit greedy.
Right.
Should have blocked here with the Mask and Annihilate.
Yeah, okay.
And then I actually sink the Annihilate away, forcing me to discard an Isolate.
Okay, right.
Which is hugely rough.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's true. Like, I mean, I guess in a pinch you could bring it back with a Codex, but that really feels like a bad Codex target.
Well, I've got Remembrance still, so I know if I run out of Isolates, I can do it, but I don't ideally want to be doing that. I want to grab all my shakedowns.
Makes sense, yeah. So how many Isolates are you, not Isolates, like Remembrances are you running? Like 1?
Just the 1.
Just the 1, yeah, okay, makes sense. And they probably have like a D-React here. Actually, they don't.
They just eat the 1, which is fine. They got,
okay.
It has no 1 hit.
Yeah, okay, fair, makes sense.
I've got an awkward hand. I need to sink out this one.
That's kind of the problem with Command and Conquer in this matchup, right? Yes. Like, it's a really good card. It's like one of the best cards in the game, in fact.
It's a blank card in this matchup.
In this, it's like almost blank, yeah.
It does turn off D-Reacts. That is its biggest impact.
That's decent, yeah, but that's pretty much.
But with Isolate, it's kind of irrelevant. Because they can D-React in response before.
Yeah, and they almost never have the D-React in Arsenal, like, or I mean, sometimes they do, but if they have the D-React in Arsenal and you play CNC, they're just gonna crown it away anyway. So you know, it's like doesn't do anything.
Gets a Vambrace here, which forces them to crown activate as well, which is great. Means they have a bigger hand, but
yeah.
I mean, whatever. They probably had a scary card in Arsenal, which they didn't want to isolate.
Yeah.
They didn't want to block with.
Yeah.
They wanted to probably play, sorry. I see the Inertia Trap here again, my favorite scene.
So this is an interesting choice by them to play the Go Again here, E-Strike. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're gonna swing Hammer, I guess, after that, because that's like the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially, that's a Hammer for 3 even, like that. So it's 8 over 7.
I can eat that. Yeah.
That feels like definitely a misplay. Like, I would just send the E-Strike for 7, Arsenal the other card. Just do that. That just feels better.
I played through the Ice React in case they had it, but if it feels bad, I have options either way if they do Ice React.
Right, yeah.
Just dagger anyway. But they feel really great in this response because they had 3 2-blocks in hand.
Right, yeah, okay.
Which was very unlucky for them. The crown would have helped that if they didn't hammer after the E-Strike, but
yeah, I didn't get the hammer after the E-Strike, honestly. That was a weird move. Like, just doesn't feel worth doing it that way, I think.
I finally get to grab my last Razor and try and get that in Arsenal because we're getting to the end game where it's a bit grindy.
Where it's relevant, yeah, and you can push over with it. Makes sense.
Fortunately, the equipment block forces me. Well, they're blocking 3, so it's pretty signaled that they're going to be doing an Earth Reactor.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Makes sense.
Which means I can't keep that Razor. So Vambrace has got to do its thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. To push that over and just get rid of 2 cards. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, I guess there's an argument to be made to, if they're telegraphing the Earth React, to just not actually swap with Uzuri, right?
Sure. I think because I can cover it with Vambrace, I think I forced it anyway.
Okay, there's a second Plague Hive. You're getting in Frailty, okay, which feels like the least impactful in that matchup.
100%, yeah. It's not the greatest, but...
I mean, it's the luck of the dice, Like, I play Brute. I used to play Levia. Like, I'm very familiar with how rolling dice feels in this game.
It's still value regardless. Like, it's going to be 1 life, and especially in the late game, that's huge.
It's still 1 life. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it's still, if you think about it that way, unless they just don't dagger here and don't hammer, right? It essentially, the Frailty token has the same value as a Heart of Fyendal, except it actually activates in this situation, which Heart of Fyendal wouldn't, because you're at a higher life than them, right?
Yes. No, they didn't do the hammer.
They don't hammer, actually. They just send like a Glacial for 10. Okay, that's fair.
Which is kind of huge. Very,
I mean, to be honest, like, you have a Codex, right?
I do have Codex, and but I can't lose the Spreading Plague because that's my last one. So
you have to eat the 4.
Have to eat the 4. And then I open myself up to an Ice Reactor, which is sad, because if they do have it, they have it.
He just runs
the Earth
React. No, and I did do the Ice React. Yeah, okay.
Ice React turns it off, which is kind of sad. I would have been able to Death Touch there, but it's okay. And now they got Temporal, a full Glacial, another Glacial at me, which is kind of rough. But it gets me. I can still do a 1-time Tunic Annihilate, which is still fine. Threatening lethal.
Yeah.
Probably a 1 block and Earth React.
5, so.
But it takes cards away, and there are 10 cards here, 13 cards with the hand.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Like.
So we're both running out of deck here.
You're both basically getting to that very late game fatigue state, 3rd cycle, where you don't really have, like, the thing is, because you play Uzuri, and even your deck doesn't run a ton of blues, right? I think you're in what, 8, 9 blues, something like that. So you have to pitch reds early to sometimes, right? Just to do like Vambrace or just to play some stuff, you have to pitch inefficiently. Yep. But that actually kind of works in your favor to some extent in this matchup, because it means you actually have relevant cards left at the end of the game, right? Instead of just running blues and then being forced to dagger or something, and that's like the most impactful play you can do. It's like blue contracts, they're blue isolate also by itself doesn't do anything. Yeah,
this is an awkward hand because I don't have anything threatening, so it's just the dagger pass. Missed the inertia +1.
Yeah, okay.
Off the hammer. They play their own Remembrance. I can't play this Remembrance at the moment because I got 2 isolates that are going to go to the bottom of the deck.
Right.
So anything I Remembrance now aren't going to be lining up with those isolates. Just kind of rough. So I have to hold it until next turn.
Yeah, okay.
I do get lucky that they had a Remembrance in hand. They go for 3 Terra Sunders, which I think is possibly the wrong choice because they have to hold 3 cards to use that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I mean, ArchonAlters just to be able to do it.
ArchonAlters could be okay because it's just like a 2-card 7, yeah. Or just even honestly just get the E-Strikes back, I guess.
Probably cool, yeah.
Because it blocks the same and it's playable off of any hand, literally. So. Probably I
yeah.
would get the E-strikes back in that situation. Or maybe CNC, just because it's actually good against Uzuri.
And here I have to block with another isolate, which is sad because I need a blue to play this codex out to get my death touch.
Yep. Makes sense.
And losing the razor and the isolate, really rough at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're just trying to grind down.
Yeah. It's really just about the grind at this point. You know, you're both at like very low amount of cards, very low health. You're just trying to survive until one of you keels over finally.
And I finally get to get my 3 death touches.
Okay, so you're just bringing back the shakedowns. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Shakedowns, just before a codex as well, so I get to ponder whatever which is nice because I needed the reshuffle because those 2 isolates stuck together. I think they're my last 2 as well.
Makes sense, yeah.
Death touch for 6, whilst it forces them to 2 card block this or crown, 1 card block, rampart and shield, and earth react. Sadly, I don't have Tunic Live here.
Oh yeah, that would be great to use Vambrace, yeah. That would be pretty nice. But you can tell that the game's like slowing down. Again, this is for all of you out there watching this is at 1.5 times the regular speed, right? Like this is not how the match played out originally. It was even slower than this.
I hit one of the isolates to go to Arsenal off the ponder, which is huge. So I get to cut a block here for the boots just in case, because I can go isolate, shakedown into another shakedown here.
Oh yeah.
If it hits and connects.
If it hits, yeah.
Which it's but that's a huge one because I get to even Vambrace on the second one. So if they both hit, I get to banish 2 cards. The second one likely doesn't hit, good. But
oh yeah, and to buy 2 just to kind of eat up. Yeah,
now,
okay.
Yeah, with the Earth React, it kind of forces that out. So I go and get the boots here.
Makes sense.
Still get to pressure.
So either he uses he can use the shield now if he wants to, but he will have to pitch for it. So,
which the pitching of a crown anyway, so it's okay.
Makes sense.
I play guy hitting frailty here again. Bit rough. Wanted an inertia here just to be able to push the last couple damage.
Makes sense, yeah.
But they don't have any remaining floating for.
They blocked with the Terra Sunder, right? So it doesn't really matter that you didn't hit with the Spider Spite.
But they block here with full equipment.
Oh, they give you everything. Okay.
They stop any 6 attack here.
Doesn't actually.
Which is fine. I just don't swap.
Does it actually cover up everything? Because they just block 5, right? Do they have one? Oh no, they have to activate the shield. Right. Yeah. I got it.
It's kind of rough.
See, that's a downside of bringing like 3 shakedowns back, right? Like you get like triple shakedown hands at some point.
Yeah, they block for 3 here. Yeah. That's okay. And here I've got my Spreading Plague finally, which I'm taking 2 cards from the 6. I'm taking 2 cards from the Spreading Plague here, or I'm getting them down to 1.
Yeah, that's pretty impactful. Massive. That is massive. Yeah, that is pretty nasty.
I now have full control.
Yeah. Like he has to just not do anything on his turn, or he's just dead.
Well, he had a red, so he has to crown as well.
Yeah, he has to crown, and now he might still be dead. Actually, yeah.
Well, one blue, it's fine, but getting down to 1. But I think they have 2 blues here. Yeah, 2 blues here.
2 blues. Okay, so yeah.
Gives me another turn. Play live. Inertia. Finally.
Actually, I think in this situation you would be happier even with a blood rot. Right? Just because it puts like immediate pressure on them, I guess.
Blood Rot and Inertia here do the exact same thing.
True.
Pretty much.
That's the point. That's fair. They keep them off Arsenal. That's true. And because they pitch to the Blood Rot, it ends up on the bottom anyway. So it's kind of really the same. Yeah, it's true.
But them not being on, having Crown active does make my Codex is a little bit awkward.
Right, because they could get something back and then crown it just to get some more. But now they can't crown, obviously, so you hit them with the dagger.
Now I can't codex here either because I got a shred, but I did know I pitch stacked my shakedown, so I get to activate the silver, which is huge because
Oh, right.
codex discard a card here.
Yeah, you know that there's a shakedown coming up, so you just send that. Okay. That
Which
makes
means
a
I
ton
don't
of sense,
lose,
yeah.
so I don't lose cards here, and I still force Spider's Bite hit as well, which
And he
means
doesn't have two, so you're gonna
I'm taking all of
leak
his
one.
cards here.
Yeah.
I think
Oof. Yeah,
without leaking one, yeah.
That's pretty rough.
Which means I'm still keeping them off crown regardless of the inertia, but
And you get the codex back next turn, or you can stack it so you get it back. And
well, I've already got
as well.
my next card here in the deck is a codex. So I've got 2 codex left and those 3 blues, which means I have to leave the one of the blues at the bottom because I'm going to be stuck in the same position of having to discard it.
Yeah, no.
Because now I can go pitch 2 yellows and then Van Brace with the other one. With the blue without discarding. It's nice.
Leave 2 floating, send shakedown or something. Yeah, makes sense.
I think I always go with Death Touch in this situation because if it does connect, it's an extra 2 value.
More impactful on hit in this situation, yeah. Like, you're not fatiguing them, right? Like, they have the Earth React basically every turn now. They have more cards. You have to kill them at this point, so.
Once they're on 2, I'm not fatiguing. If they get now they're on 1, I can't possibly fatigue this matchup.
Yeah.
But I'm running out of cards myself.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to be blocking with Van Brace. They're going to have to block with actual cards in hand from next turn.
Makes sense.
Which doesn't feel great with blocking a 1 damage dagger.
So he's getting something back here, which I guess does turn on his crown. What did he get back, actually? He got a command conk. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense, yeah, because you have the ponder.
And Spider's Right Life here means they have to crown.
Yep. Just to... Actually, I think they're dead.
They're not dead yet.
If they draw a non-attack, they can survive, but that's like the only thing they have. With the shield, yeah, okay. Yeah, with the shield it works. And they got the channel, yeah, okay.
So they got the channel anyway, but with the shield, they can cleanly block this out.
Yeah.
But it does mean they're on 1 now, which means every dagger and Van Brace is lethal.
Yeah.
Which puts them in a very dodgy spot.
A rough position to be in, definitely, yeah.
I can't arsenal that shred either. So
yeah, no, that's...
Last 4 cards. But this should be the last turn, I believe, because their being at 1 means they have to Earth React this one. They got no crown, which means this next dagger can't be ignored. Has to send a card, which means crown.
They have Embrace, yeah, and they can't crown.
Which means this codex should
connect.
We'll take the last card away from it. 1 card from hand. They got active, which means 6 should do the lethal. This is me working out. Does it work? But it does.
I mean, couldn't you just... I know, it shreds for 2. It's a blue shred, yeah.
It's a blue shred, so it's...
If this was a yellow shred, that would be lovely, because you can just shred the CNC, right? Like, you can shred dagger attacks. That's actually something you can do.
Oh yeah, yellow shred here would have won the game here, but it being blue.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not gonna have the yellows around at this point in the game in most situations, right?
No, but the yellow would have been much easier to keep this hand every turn. So it being a blue, because I've got 2 blues in hand, forces me to discard, which is rough.
Yeah, sure.
This is just, me working out. Is lethal, double checking. Because you can grab a Death Touch here. They can only prevent 1 with Crown, 1 with Rampart, and block with a 3 block.
Because they have to discard, right? Yeah.
They have to discard.
Unless they're running Down and Dirty, but I don't think Oldhims are on Down and Dirty. Currently. No. Like, I don't think that card makes sense in a deck that already has so many defensive options.
And even if they did run Down Dirty here, they've got 2 cards left in that deck, which means even on 2 cards here, I think I still win the fatigue because I still dagger they have to block the
Because you
second
have
dagger.
Plague Hive, right? Just because you have
And
Plague Hive.
Even Plague Hive alone, if that's a Blood Rot, I win.
Plague Hive is so good
yeah.
in this matchup. It's crazy, yeah.
I will look to
Like if it goes this long, and it probably will in most situations.
Fan breaks for the perfect lethal,
Damn.
which is nice. But like, 191 damage. You can. It's a grindy game.
It is It's a grindy game. This was like turn 30. Yeah. Dang. Yeah, this is a long game. But folks, there you have it. That's how you kill an Oldhim, I suppose.
There's a few mistakes on both sides, I think. But generally, I think the Autumn played fairly well.
Like, I mean,
chances, but they also had the bit unlucky hands.
Yeah.
I think the same could be said about me as well. I had a few awkward hands which forced unideal situations where I didn't even get the boots. So like for any large turns late game. So so I got forced into one life point at a time kind of game instead of a big blowout turn.
Yeah, like I saw that you never really had that really impactful, death touch from Arsenal, boots, codex, death touch kind of turn. Like that didn't really happen in that game. I think the only hand where you possibly had it was like when he played out that one channel lake, and that just kind of screwed all of your chances of actually getting that huge turn out and doing something with it. But overall, that was a close game. Like you were both down to literally the last cards in your deck.
Yeah.
Like he had one card left in deck, you had like none, and 2 in your pitch zone, right? But yeah, like, so folks, if you think, is Plague Hive a necessary card for Uzuri? I would say if you want to play it casually, like at an armory or like a skirmish or something, and there's not going to be a ton of Oldhims, you're fine. You don't need Plague Hive. It's not a necessary card. That being said, if you plan to play this deck at a competitive level, in a meta where Oldhim is a deck that is very much a thing, I think Plague Hive is kind of maybe not strictly necessary, but it's definitely a very, very good card that is going to improve your matchup into Oldhim, I think, by a pretty relevant margin.
Oh, yeah. Definitely helps a lot. You saw how much value I got out of that one.
Yeah.
They rolled inertias late game.
Yeah.
Which stopped Crown, which damage would have stopped Crown anyway, but if there had been any other roll, like a Blood Rot.
Yeah.
Completely.
Blood Rot would have just killed them, at that point. And like and that wasn't even a very good Plague Hive overall, right? Like you got the 2 frailties in the middle there that didn't do anything either time because they had like an attack from hand every time, so it didn't even save a life. And then a late game, the inertias, where you feel like, okay, Blood Rot would probably be a little more impactful in that situation, but it's random, right? Like
at the end of the day, random's gonna be random, yeah.
Yeah, it is random. Like I'm not a big fan, generally, to be honest, of like dice rolls in a TCG that is all about reducing variance for the most part, because I feel like Flesh and Blood's doing a pretty good job, overall of reducing variance if you compare it to other TCGs like Magic the Gathering, where it plays a larger part, with the lands and everything. And Flesh and Blood, with the resource system, with the pitching and everything, has placed a much higher emphasis on deck construction and actually getting your ratios right, and figuring out how many cards of each color you need in the deck for it to function optimally. Of course, it's still a card game, right? So there's going to be an element of variance no matter what you do, because you have a random amount of cards in your deck, or like a specific amount of cards in your deck, and you draw 4 of those every turn, and they're going to be random, right? Like, unless you're cheating, I guess. But in most situations, they're going to be random. Like, you don't know what cards you're going to draw, at least until you get to second cycle, if you pitch stack and you memorize it, right?
The problem with Plague Hive is, if it wasn't random, all the diseases the tokens are just too impactful.
Yeah, look, if Plague Hive was like choose one, the card would be broken. Like that would be one of the best cards in the game. instantly.
Yeah.
If you could choose, it would be broken. That's true. I agree with that.
I don't see how they fix it without being random, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, maybe there could be a world where it's like a red gem and then it's not random, because I don't know. This is just spitballing, honestly. Like, I think it's fine the way it is, and this is like an element of dice rolling where I'm like, okay, right, because you're getting something impactful with every roll, basically. Like, Blood Rot's obviously relevant into every matchup. Inertia, I think, is relevant into every matchup because every deck wants to have an arsenal. Like, there's no deck that goes, yeah, I'm fine, I don't need an arsenal. You're gonna see decks, especially if you're playing Uzuri, in my experience, that are gonna try to not arsenal as much as they normally would, simply because a lot of the disruption that Uzuri or Assassin in general has access to is targeting arsenal, right?
Fi is currently doing that game plan of just never arsenaling.
Like, just send everything. But simply by doing that, they have to do less efficient plays, right? Simply by not being able to arsenal a card when they want to, their turns are going to be limited in the amount of damage they can do. Like, a 5-card hand Fi is way more scary than a 4-card hand Fi, for example. Same for Rune Blades. Same for, well, Rangers, very obviously, but every aggro deck, every aggressive deck basically would rather have a 5-card hand to make their turn more impactful. So, and you're kind of denying that by having all of this arsenal disruption, right? That they have to play around. You have like the CNC, Leave No Witnesses, all of the inertias, all of that stuff. So like, that's a good token to get. And then Frailty can be, I think, in a lot of matchups, like the least impactful one.
Oh, yeah.
Where it basically just like, but even if you take Frailty at face value, where you go like, okay, in most matchups, this is gonna save 1 life, right? Yep. If they attack with a weapon or with an attack from arsenal or something, like, so it's gonna save 1 life, and then even then, it's basically the equivalent of Heart of Fyrndal. Every time you pitch it, you get a Frailty. It means you saved 1 life, right? Or like, not every time, but against some decks, basically, it's equivalent.
Lexi,
Lexi, you can get like 3 or 4. I've had Lexi turns where I saved 4 life from a single Frailty token. That absolutely happens. So with Lexi, especially with like the fuseless variants that are, I think, the most common right now, absolutely, Frailty is massive. So it's definitely, Plaguehive's good. I think that sums it up pretty well.
It's also very easy just to side out when it's not good.
True. Yeah.
So it's just never a downside to having the deck, having the card.
It's one card.
It's a very playable Fabled.
Yeah.
I wish Alistair would stop doing this. But
100%. Like, honestly, when they revealed the Fabled CNC in Dynasty, I was so happy. Because I didn't pull one, right? Like, I would have been really happy if that happened, but just seeing that this was the direction they were going with, right? Going into like having fables that are basically just like expensive chase pieces that serve no functional value, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you have like a fabled CNC for like $700 in your deck, or you have the white border CNC from HP1 in your deck. That's like, I don't know for how much that goes currently. I think in Europe it's something like 60 euros maybe, which is still insane for like a card that you need to have 3 of basically, but it's a lot better than 700. So but there's no reason to have the 701 in your deck, right? Unless you want to. Whereas if you want to play Oldhim at a competitive level, you need to have a Heart of Fyrndal basically, and that goes for about 400 to 500 currently. So I don't like playable fables generally.
I reckon you had the same issue for Outsiders. You always had to have Heart.
You had the Heart, right? Like the list that you made, like this life gain ultra fatigue list, basically you were running Heart, like no questions asked.
Heart is so much value in decks like that, and it feels bad to have to have those. Compete.
Like, just, okay, I'm gonna drop like half the value of my deck is like one single card. And then you have to have Tunic, right, for Assassin as well, which is insanely expensive. CNCs, E-Strikes, it's not a cheap deck to run. Definitely, I think it's one of the most expensive decks in the format at the moment, which it feels kind of rough if you consider it's probably not one of the best decks to run in the format currently. It's a good deck. I think Uzuri is definitely a good deck.
It's definitely not the best hero in the format. It's definitely good, though. Especially into most of the top decks, it's okay, decent into them all. Maybe Dromai is the only outlier there.
Yeah, Dromai is a rough matchup.
Dromai is in a similar position of it's not the best deck, but into the current meta and top decks, it's quite good into.
Yeah.
So I think Uzuri and Dromai are in a similar boat at the moment.
Yeah. And I think they're also similar in that they both require a fairly skilled pilot, like Dromai more so than Uzuri, a lot more so, I would say.
Definitely, yeah.
But still, like, you have to know your matchups well. Like, Uzuri is a hero that really rewards knowing your fundamentals, right? And you have to know the matchup into every hero. Like, you need to know what other heroes do in order to know how to most impactfully disrupt them, basically, right? So you need to know what your best choices are into that deck, basically. So yeah. All right. Folks, that's it for today. Let's wrap this up. This was a showcase of an Oldhim matchup on the Contract Uzuri list by ArchonAlters. Once again, the deck list is going to be down in the description of this video. Also, just in case you were wondering, ArchonAlters is not just a fancy name that he picked for himself. He actually does altars. And they're really beautiful. I've seen some of them, some really nice cards. So I'm also going to drop a link to his Instagram and his Facebook down in the video description in case you want to check that out and maybe grab yourself one of those sweet altars that he does. And as always, if you like this video, leave a like down there, maybe subscribe to the channel if you like the kind of content that we're doing. I'm definitely trying to get more of this stuff out to you people. This will be assassin focused. That's the main idea of the channel. So if you're an assassin player and you happen to have any kind of recorded videos of a matchup that you think would make a good fit for this channel, like this one today was, hit me up, write me a comment, drop me a message, write me on the Uzuri channel on the Discord. I'm Pentragoth over there. And we can get something similar to this worked out and uploaded for everyone to see, so that we will hopefully have some more resources for assassin players or aspiring assassin players that want to check out some content on this wonderful class. See you next time.